The 2024 WWE Draft took place on SmackDown, but one name missing from the draft was Roman Reigns, as Paul Heyman made two shocking announcements. In today's video, we will cover those two big announcements: Roman withdrawing from the draft and Roman not returning to WWE anytime soon. And the real reasons have now been revealed as to why Roman withdrew from the draft and why Paul Heyman said Roman will not be returning to WWE for the foreseeable future. Well, how long does that mean? We now know the answer to that question and why Roman withdrew from the draft. It was a busy night for the new Bloodline, and many wondered what number would the new Bloodline be drafted at. This is, of course, after Roman Reigns withdrew from the draft. So if you draft the Bloodline, you only were going to get Solo, Tonga, and Paul Heyman. Now, when the new Bloodline was drafted, they didn't call them the new Bloodline or Solo's Bloodline. They simply called them the Bloodline, showing Roman has fully lost control officially of the Bloodline, and now Solo is in full control of the Bloodline, and Roman is not only nowhere to be seen, but he's not the tribal chief anymore, and he is not part of the Bloodline. WWE made this official during the draft. So what number was the Bloodline drafted? Well, they were drafted in round 3, number 11 overall. Now, if Roman was part of the Bloodline, of course they would be drafted in the first round, and of course they would be drafted number 1, because it's Roman Reigns. So this is a sign WWE does not view this new version of the Bloodline on the same level, nowhere near the same level as Roman's Bloodline. And with the shocking statements from Paul Heyman on SmackDown concerning Roman withdrawing from the draft, and Heyman saying that Roman will be gone from WWE for a long time, many fans are wondering what is going on with Roman and what is the real reason for these shocking announcements from Paul Heyman about Roman. We now have the answer. Let's get to them right now. Roman Reigns wasn't the only former Bloodline member missing from the WWE Draft. Jimmy Uso was also missing. His brother, Jey Uso, was drafted number 2 to Raw, but Jimmy Uso was nowhere to be seen on the draft, and he will not be part of the draft on Raw. So he is completely MIA. Now, at least with Roman, they said he wasn't going to be a part of it, so we knew he wasn't. But Jimmy Uso, they didn't say a thing. In fact, they have said nothing about Jimmy Uso. They haven't said what his condition is. They haven't said if he might be still part of the Bloodline, if he's taking sides with Roman. It's just been radio silence. But we are now learning that the real reason why Jimmy Uso was attacked by Solo Sikoa and kicked out of the Bloodline and injured on TV was because he is suffering from a legitimate injury. So he was going to have to be on the sideline. So in order to basically write him off TV, they had Solo attack him and kick him out of the Bloodline because he has a real injury. And nobody really knows when he might come back. So now let's get to why exactly Paul Heyman made two earth-shattering announcements on SmackDown concerning Roman Reigns. First, why was Roman not drafted? Why did he withdraw? Why wouldn't you have the biggest star in the company part of the draft? Why in the opening of the show did Paul Heyman say Roman's off the table? He doesn't want to be drafted. He's going to be ineligible. Now, Paul Heyman talked about a lot of stuff that was part of a script, like it was a foregone conclusion that Roman would be the number one pick. Roman basically wants somebody else to be number one because Roman's already number one, even though he's not selected number one. But the key thing that Paul Heyman said, and basically answered the question about why Roman withdrew from the draft, Heyman said, Roman Reigns is not returning to WWE in the immediate future. Very rarely will that kind of announcement happen on WWE because they want to make you think that a big star who is currently gone could come back at any time. So you better watch SmackDown and you better watch Raw and you better not miss an episode or else you'll miss a huge return by a big star. And as we know, Roman has not been on TV that much over the last couple years. And in his place, members of the Bloodline, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, all these people, kind of stood in for Roman. But when they appeared, you would think, well, maybe Roman's going to be on this show. You have Paul Heyman, you have the Usos. Well, I'm going to keep watching to see if Roman makes an appearance. Usually he wouldn't, but it helped the ratings because people kept watching just in case Roman would appear. Now we know Roman will not appear, as Paul Heyman said, in the immediate future. Well, what does that mean, in the immediate future? Well, it is very possible that it means 2025. As shocking as that sounds, it is becoming more and more likely that Roman won't be around until next year. And one of the reasons why that could be correlates with Monday Night Raw moving to Netflix. So they don't want Roman to be drafted to SmackDown because Netflix wants Roman, but also SmackDown's moving to USA Network. So the USA Network wants Roman. So WWE right now could be planning for Roman to appear on both shows, basically a free agent. But unfortunately, that won't be until those two shows switch networks. Raw to Netflix, SmackDown to USA Network. Roman could return in time for the Royal Rumble next year, but it is also possible that Roman returns for a Crown Jewel event in November of this year. That is probably the earliest he would return. Now, originally, it was rumored that Roman would return in time for this year's SummerSlam, but now it looks like that is off the table. And basically, the real reason why Roman wasn't drafted is because he's not going to be around. And why is he not going to be around? Because he's busy making movies. What are your thoughts about Roman Reigns withdrawing from the draft and Paul Heyman saying Roman won't be around in WWE for the immediate future? Leave a comment and give me your opinion.